Hello and welcome back to the second episode of PK's The War Room, which is a podcast that is named the same thing as my YouTube channel. Because I was thinking about calling it War Dollies, but
War Dollies, nice.
I think War Dollies was my, I wish I called it that. Hello, Mikey.
Hello, thanks for having me back. Episode 2.
Exactly.
They call me the two-time, you know? Two-time champ.
Exactly. This is it, though. This is the last one.
Oh, shit, okay. Never mind.
You're now a friend of the pod. The pod's only been going for 2 episodes, but you're actually the only friend of the pod, I guess.
I'm about to say it's because you got no one else to come on. Okay, I get it.
That's not true. I've got other people in the pipeline, you fuck.
What, you think you only care about other people and not me? I understand.
That is true. They've all got more subscribers than you.
True. I know.
But, okay, so this week, we haven't had a big controversy on Twitter or on social media in general. The Daily Mail hasn't reported on Warhammer.
No, of course. We're just in the fallout of last week, I think, you know?
Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah. The half-life of that controversy is still going.
Do we have the Daily Mail article last time we spoke?
No, it was literally just after. Yeah, because I remember you were editing it and I was like, look at this article, what the hell?
Yeah, you sent it to me. Okay, before we get into all the other stuff, so this is a podcast. If you listen to it on a podcast platform, let me know, because that's really interesting, because no fucker else does. If you want to see episode 1, it'll be in a playlist on this channel. The idea is that we just talk Warhammer and tabletop gaming to an extent. So I'm going to probably mention Crisis Protocol. I've been getting really frothing at the gash to paint a Wolverine.
Not Warhammer? Do you want views or not?
Yeah, that is true. That's the sad thing, right? If you're talking about card games, it has to be one of the monolithic 3, and if it's tabletop, it's basically anything by GW.
I do love Marvel Crisis Protocol, to be fair. The models are sick.
The models are sick, and I also love retro paint schemes. Anyway, quick plug. If you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel. And if you're part of my Patreon Discord, I'm going to start a section of this podcast from next episode where if you've posed questions in the Discord in the question room for the Warhammer podcast, I will talk about them with my guest. So if you want to pose specific questions about the hobby, whether they be real, like, niche shit, like, am I the asshole for not playing the correct rules, or can I proxy one of these at one of Mikey's events? Which the answer would probably be no. He's very, very strict. You wouldn't let me play my fucking Gorkanaut.
It's not a Gorkanaut, it's a Star Wars figure with wrong guns. Anyway, if you want to ask any questions, make sure you join the boardroom. The question boardroom. What did you call it?
It's just going to be a room on my Patreon. Okay. There'll be a link in the description below. Anyway, let's start out with the really soft shit that all podcasts like this do, and I like doing it. What have you been hobbying with, Mikey?
What have you been doing this week? I don't know. What have I been doing? I've been streaming, because that's my job. I ran a tournament last week. I think I mentioned I was running a tournament in the last episode.
What was it? What tournament was this?
It was a Warhammer 40k tournament, and we had 51 players turn up, which is
Superstars?
Cool.
Is that this?
Yeah, so it's got, this was the All-Stars. And then we have the Super All-Stars, which is the big one, you know? So we've got like the mini ones, which is April and November, then the big one in end of August, which you're coming to, which should be cool.
I plan to. I have not made any plans. I want to. I'm going to.
Not come in.
Yes. Well, I was about to joke that you didn't invite me to the last one, and then you just threw that at me as I was closing my email app that came up. I'm so fucking professional. Yes, I'm planning to be there at the end of August.
You should be there.
What I need to do is make some plans and make sure it shouldn't correspond or conflict with any both fathering duties and magic stuff.
Vince has been invited, okay? Is that the owl? The owl has had the note sent. That's the big one, in Sheffield, which should be pretty fun.
So the little ones feed into the big one?
Yeah, so because a lot of people who watch my channel are new to competitive, and they're like, oh, I really go to a tournament, but big one scares me. And I'm like, okay, well, we have these mini ones, we run those a little bit more often. And they're they're like a mid-sized GT. They're probably bigger than a normal mid-sized GT, but I like to foster a really friendly community of obviously really good players, but also people who are brand new. And
so it wasn't a Shark Tank with the best players in the country.
There was a couple of really good players, don't get me wrong, but those really good players are also super nice. And if you're playing against them, they'll not coach you, but they'll not
Because my first ever non-casual tournament was one of yours. It was your one at Sanctuary at that time.
Yeah.
And my first 2-round opponents were I'm the best Knights player in the world, and I'm going to use a chess clock, and if you take your hands off your models, you can't move them again. And I was
we
this
don't
is
have
intense.
That anymore. Yeah.
And then my second round was against the notorious cheater, who's also very good. So my first 2 rounds of competitive Warhammer should have scared the shit out of me, but it just made me froth for more. But,
yeah, I'm just in the deep end, I'm just you know what? I've never met you before. Come on, let's go.
That is true. I wonder if I'd lost both those matches, whether because if I'd lost both of those, I probably would have been like, "Fuck, this is too much."
Yeah, because you won the first one, lost the second one.
I did. My best knights player in the universe. I just shot 27 melter guns, and they all died by turn 2. It's like that was the edition where melter guns killed knights real easy.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, but no, we don't foster the cheaters or the really horrible people. We kind of stopped that out a little bit.
They weren't horrible. In defense, I'm not going to name and shame here. Maybe one day I will. Yeah. But my first run opponent wasn't horrible. He was just intense. Yeah. Way too intense. When I said, "Hi, this is my first ever competitive tournament game," and he's like, "Wow, this is a chess clock," and I'm a cunt. He wasn't really a cunt. But anyway, so who won? What won your tournament?
So what won was, surprise, surprise, Josh Roberts with Necrons, who, surprisingly, since I started running events like probably like all of last year, Josh Roberts, who is obviously was captain of Team England.
You're saying obviously, most people will listen to this podcast have no fucking idea.
I'm telling you, Josh Roberts, previous captain of Team England, previous vice captain of Team England, previous captain. He's basically always been captain or vice captain. Now he's the guy who basically writes balance for 40k. He's the face of MetaWatch.
Oh, I've seen this referenced on Reddit.
Yeah, so
he's playing Hypercrypt, yeah?
He was playing Hypercrypt. He's won all but 2 of my events, which is quite funny.
With Hypercrypt?
No, just in general. Just in general.
Okay. Is he like us? Well, no, you always play Marines. Is he like sweaty tryhards like me who skips between armies?
He does play whatever's good because he's plays for England. If you're going to play for like your country, I don't think you can stick to one army as much as I would love that. That'd be cool. But he does play whatever's good. Yeah. But he started working with GW like last year, and now he's like the face of MetaWatch, and he won with Canoptech Court Necrons, not Hypercrypt.
Oh, okay. The Court, actually, no, Court makes more sense because Court's the one that Scarabs are better, right? Because they get the pre-game move or forward deploy, one or two.
No, so it's the one that makes Wraiths like reroll hits when they're in the shadow.
What did I just say?
You said something about Scarabs.
Oh, sorry, I mean Wraiths. Oh, it's the same fucking thing. Yeah, they got 6 arms. Yeah. I meant Wraiths. So it's the rerolls. They always have the forward deploy. One unit has a forward deploy from a relic.
I think so. Yeah.
Stressing my mind. I haven't played against them in like a couple months.
Yeah. So it's 18 Wraiths. Okay.
Cringe.
With Technomancers to give them feel pain.
Cringe.
They re-roll hits whilst they're in the. I call it the shadow because it's the same mechanic as Chaos Demons, but it's their own version. Hold objectives in the middle.
Weave or network or something.
Yeah. So they in their deployment zone they always get it. If they hold half or more at the start of any phase of the objectives, they get it in the no man's land, and if they hold the half or more in your deployment zone, they get it there. They get a re-roll hit. So then they've got loads of really good stratagems, and then he's got like Cesaras, which is the spider character thingy, the big character. He's really good.
Wait, there's a spider character?
Well,
like named character?
Illuminor Cesaras, he's on the legs, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he's not you can't say spider because there's actually spiders in the book, right?
But he's got legs like the spiders. He's got 4 legs. He's got like 4 legs.
Yeah, but the spiders are much bigger. Hang on.
He's quite big. He's very big for a Necron character. He's on
you can't see this if you're listening to the podcast, so you got a second monitor. And also ignore the basing because it's terrible. There's some blue fluff.
But look how big that base is. Normally they're on like 40 mils. And he's on like
I agree. But I think he's just much smaller than a spider, right? But you're probably right. The visual language is probably making reference to spiders. The reason I'm putting a face, which you also can't see if you're listening, is that I'd never thought that he was meant to be referencing the spider.
Have you ever seen the old model?
I think so.
So he was on a 25 mil base with 6 legs. And he was like all curled up.
Yeah,
he's like a
okay. That is interesting. I'd never made the association that he's meant to be like a spider. Because he's the big named Technomancer, isn't he?
He's basically half Canoptech. That's why he's got loads of legs. So if the legs are very similar to the Reanimators.
Yes, they're exactly the same but shrunk down, yeah.
So the reason I say spider is because he's got loads. He's not got 2 legs. He's got more than 2. Definitely.
He is the coolest model, other than perhaps the Void Dragon in the entire Necron Codex.
He's very sick. I love the guy on the ground who's just getting
the fact that he's like sucking out the viscera from this poor imperial like bureaucrat. He's just like a desk worker.
Yeah,
he's just ordering
wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, he's walking into the wrong room and they're like. Anyway, sorry, that was awful on the mic.
It was great. So it's like him, and then he's got like the Forge World Acanthrites, I think they're called. They have
centipedes.
They're like not the centipedes. They're really, you got to look at them up. They're very strange. So they're like a bit halfway between a wraith and a scarab, but they've got like melter guns in their mouth, and they come in units of 3, and they have like a really strange rule that I believe stacks. It's something like every time shoot a unit, the Necrons get an additional AP. They're like very strange, very very.
I just
strange.
tried to look them up on the shop live, which
They're on.
I'm probably going to cut the video.
I don't think you can buy them anymore.
But also, I can't spell them, so we've got two hurdles there. They don't exist in the shop.
Acanthrites.
So A-K-A.
A-C-A-N. Acan.
Oh my goodness.
You got it?
It's just, no, it's giving me loads of arcane journals for games that I don't play. Acanthrites.
Acanthrites.
This is the kind of Warhammer content you've all... Oh, these things, they look like flies.
Yeah. So they have a rule called damaged armor. In your shooting phase, after this unit is shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly Necron's model makes an attack and scores a critical wound, so a 6 to wound, increase the AP by 1.
Okay. So
which sounds good.
Yeah, it does sound good. I do like the stacking buffs. I do like when you can like stack shit up.
But that's the thing, because obviously like 40k now, they've essentially added like status effects. So like there's certain like for example the big
if you are shook from a battle, an Earthshaker cannon, you can't be shook by something else. So
or
that's
suppressed. But this doesn't have a status effect.
It's not like armor damage status effect. It's just like a...
Because it would say, in your shooting phase, when it's been hit, this unit is now treated as damaged armor. Because it doesn't have that, if you shoot 3 of these into the same unit, a 6 to wound is an additional AP3.
So here's interesting. So people at home are like, well, some people might say this, not everyone. Some people are listening like, why the fuck are they talking so much about Arcan Swords or whatever they're called? Some people are probably thinking there's a precedent there that actually everything is a status effect and it can't layer. That's not necessarily true. So an example that I've wanted to talk about this in a video for ages is that the demons have a character that can stack a buff that is +1 strength, +1 AP, +1 damage.
Yeah.
The Blood Throne of Khorne, the Red Master on Blood Throne, yeah. So you can actually get like Scarbound up to something like, this is roughly, but it's like 22 strength, AP 5, damage 5 or something. Like he becomes insane. And you can do this on anything because they all target a unit and then your Khorne stuff gets that buff against that unit when you fight them in combat. So
this is the same mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. So there is precedent that this exists elsewhere.
Yeah.
It might be like abusable, and maybe it's something that if this becomes a meta build, like GW, like, well, maybe we should patch this out. But
yeah, I think they'll get legends because they don't sell them on Forge World anymore.
So they are on the GW shop. I just found them.
Okay.
They're £52. They're temporarily out of stock, which actually really means, if we're honest, they're out of stock forever now.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're a Forge World model because they have no paint job.
Nice.
It's just
grey.
It's just some and the grey
it's like
as well.
yours when you buy them.
Yeah, exactly. But I hate how misleading some of the Forge World shit is because they're grey on the website in a grey that looks like plastic.
Yeah.
But I'm guaranteed they're resin.
Do they call it expert kit? That's their loophole now.
Which really means the worst resin on the market.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've got strong opinions about Forge World, which is actually going to be really relevant for this podcast because our main topic is going to be how they keep squatting everything and removing shit from the game.
Yeah.
Anyway, what have I been doing? Not a lot. I played some Orcs.
Nice. Which one? Did you use Bully Boys or did you use something else?
Oh, hang on. We've moved on. I wanted to say something. The reason I'd heard about your winner from your event was that someone on Reddit had said, isn't it funny that Necrons didn't get a nerf, but then they're being point adjusted by the guy who's winning with them? But that's actually not true, because the Technomancers went up in points in the dataset that came out yesterday.
Yeah, Technomancers went up 25 points. Caesar's Spider went up 25 or 30 points.
So it's so interesting because, stop calling him a fucking spider. He's not...
Spider-Man.
This is the land speeder argument all over again. It's a land speeder profile. Doesn't move 12. Anyway, that's an anecdote that I'm not going to go into. So
one day.
One day we'll tell that story. Or you can go watch the battle report on my other channel, which you were on, where you were trying to say everything was a land speeder. I'm like, it's not a fucking land speeder if it moves 6. Anyway, it's a good example of how sometimes you shouldn't believe everything you read on the internet, especially on a Twitter or a Reddit thread, because someone had said it's so funny they haven't adjusted them in response to the data slate on the Warhammer competitive thing, and they have. Wraiths are too good in my opinion, but instead of nerfing the Wraiths, they've nerfed the Technomancer that you have to take with them to make them good. Yeah,
which I was saying I'm surprised they didn't bump both, but like arguably, the Wraiths are pretty bad solo without a Technomancer. They're not great, they're decent. But like with the Technomancer, they become a little bit insane. Now, if you're not running Technomancer with a race, you're running Technomancer with like a unit of warriors, you're a little bit sad.
So let's explain for the kiddies at home what the Technomancer does to the race. So it gives them the invulnerable feel no pain, right?
So it gives them a feel no pain of 5+. So they now
so their stat line becomes T6, 4 wounds, 4 up invuln natively, and a 5+ feel no pain.
Yeah, which then each turn he can revive them, so he can heal them back
they either heal a model or revive thanks to animation protocols. They're kind of nuts. They are probably the best tar pit in the game currently, although the Orcs might have just got something comparable.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll talk about that in a moment. So yeah, I hate them. And
Yeah,
at any point anyone's taking 18 of them, that is a clear sign that something needs to be adjusted.
Yeah,
in
it's
my
the
opinion.
4 wounds that throws them off. Like even if they're damaged, but like a lot of people have like 2 to 3 damage as standard as like to deal with that. And it's 4 wounds, so it's a bit annoying. So then they're ignoring a third of the wounds. So they're ignoring one of them. So your 2 damage shots now do 3 wounds. Just one still alive on 1 wound.
There's some math that someone tried to explain to me once that I didn't quite get, but I still believe it. I was like, I'm shit at math, so I believe you. That a 5+ feel no pain is a wound increase of somewhere like, what's the percentage? Do you know the number? Because I know a 4+ feel no pain is meant to be like 150% wound increase.
Yeah, so
something crazy.
Would it be like 33% increase?
No, I think it's way. I think it worked out way more than that. Because of the nature of rolling. I wish I had the number to hand, because now I'm just saying shit that doesn't make sense. But it's a lot. Basically, it's way more than you think. It makes the base seem like there's like actually fucking double the number of them, and they're big bases, and they can move through objectives, and they got OC2. Is that correct?
OC2, yeah. And they've just got really good stratagems because they've got like a move after you end near them type
reactive moves. Reactive moves are probably some of the strongest things in the game. If you're playing at a competitive level, if you're a casual listener, I'm so sorry we're going into this.
The last thing I was going to say, it's very interesting having. It's interesting in a way because like Josh is a very good player. He's always been a very good player before he joined GW, and then he's winning loads of events with arguably one of the best meta builds at the time, which is obviously like, on one hand, you can be like, which is probably what Reddit is coming from. It's like, whoa, Games Workshop staff winning loads of events. That's really cringe, which I agree is a bit cringe. But also, beforehand, Games Workshop had no one going to events and winning. So did they understand the game as well as someone like Josh? Maybe not, because he's playing every meta build because he's having to beating them with his Necrons, and he's like, okay, that list is pretty sick.
The guy writing or involved with MetaWatch should actually have a grasp on the meta, because in the past the MetaWatch articles have had points where they've been kind of laughable, where then they're a little bit behind or they're a little bit skewed. You can argue that it's actually trying to obfuscate the data to make the game look healthier than it is and stuff.
Yeah, because they have been like criticized for that in the past, especially like how they present graphs where they're like they look like they're really close, but the numbers aren't quite right.
So I actually think I think having him on staff. There's two sides to this. So, and I'm going to compare it to Magic a little bit. Having someone who's good at the game on to balance or consult on your game is a very good thing. Like game designers are normally, they're not always focused towards making a balanced game at a super high competitive level where everyone's abusing the best stuff.
Yeah.
They might be thinking about fun. They might be thinking about the new player experience. There's so many other elements to game design beyond that. So having comp players come in and help with that is good. Magic has it all the time. There's a famous example of a lot of comp Magic players saying, this card you're about to print is too good, and then Wizards completely ignoring it and printing it anyway, and then those cards go on to break the game, which is really funny. They're like, I did say during testing this is going to break the game, and it did break the game. But beyond that, there's interesting with games with Wizards of the Coast where if you're on payroll, so not consulting, but if you're on payroll, like as a member of staff, I don't know what his situation is. Staff can't enter big tournaments.
Okay.
Or at least Wizards of the Coast sanctioned upper end tournaments. I guess your tournament wouldn't count as that, so it's fine.
That's what I was going to say. The difference is with this is Josh is winning loads of independent events because Warhammer, most events are independent. They get a little bit of endorsement from GW. For example, our big event in August has 3 golden tickets for their World Championship events. Another plug, sorry. But like,
is that the one I'm coming to?
That's what you're coming to, yeah. So
I'm going to win one of them.
They get a golden ticket to go to Atlanta. So they're like not, but they're even then
easy
contractually. We're not like sponsored by GW. It's just like it's a minor endorsement of like, you run a good event. Here's a little thing. I don't think Josh is allowed to go to like the US Opens, which are the GW sanctioned events, and play those.
But can he win a golden ticket?
I think he has won a golden ticket, but I don't know if
because that's where the line is. And I'm sorry, I don't know this guy, and I've not really got strong opinions on this, but it is an interesting talking point. That should a GW staff member be able to win prizes like that? Because it's a bad look if all 3 of those golden tickets get won by like 3 playtesters, balance changers, or that would be a bad look. I think that's the main reason why there's rules about what WotC staff can enter.
Yeah, so I think
pro player consultants can enter stuff. So
yeah, I think he's won a place because the events he's won have had golden tickets available. I don't know if he's in attendance. I don't know if he's going as a judge or a player. It'd probably make more sense for him to go as a judge. But it's also one of those things. It's like if it's an independent event and it's not endorsed by GW, ultimately anyone could arguably win. Because if you go, well, they can't play independent events, where do these play testers,
where do they actually
where
test?
do these rule writers like learn the meta like firsthand of like
in the Warhammer 40k TTS Discord, obviously.
Yeah, I bet
that's not shade, by the way. I love TTS, but I'm just saying it's not the best way to test your game. In terms
it's
of
definitely an interesting talking point. I think it's like on one hand, I could understand the frustration when someone is like works for GW, balances the game, is also winning loads of events, but I think that probably shows an issue where Games Workshop don't run enough events that they can be excluded from, because every event is like independent. I don't think they'd be going to I don't think like any playtesters or anyone will be going to Warhammer World to win that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the softer ones.
Yeah, the Seal Clubber ones that I like.
I'm throwing shade there, dear listener, because Mikey
That's
won
the only
one of
event
them.
I've won in a while.
Yeah, and then got accused of it being the soft one.
Look,
Right? That was
it
like
was hard day 2, okay? Day 2, one of the best Space Wolf players in the country I beat.
One of the best Space Wolf players.
Yeah, and they're actually probably one of the best meta armies now after the balance status like yesterday. So shut it.
Well,
shut
now,
it,
but they were. That's like, I beat one of the best
you.
AdMech players in the world. Like, AdMech are not in a good spot right now.
Shut it. AdMech came second at my event.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
that's interesting. So before we move on, what was the AdMech list looking like?
It was basically a humongous swarm. It's
Oh, so
150 models. It's a really. I talked about it on stream on Monday. It's a really interesting playstyle.
Was
very
that Manny?
quickly.
Was that Glasshammer?
No. So basically,
So for people listening to understand the stuff we're saying, Manny Chimo is one of the best players in the country as well. It's absolutely fair to say. He
in
always
the
plays
world,
the most.
arguably, because he won the
won
championship.
the world easily. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very fair to say. He's got. There's an interesting rep about some of the stuff he's like arguments he's gotten into, but he's actually quite a nice guy. If I'm completely frank about it, and he plays the strangest, most skewed lists of the most biggest
Always
spam
a
you can.
spam. Yeah, anything that you can take 900 off, he's probably got that army.
And he often plays the lists that are the kind of lists that I think they need to actually patch out of the game because they ruin tournaments because you can't finish games with them because you're trying to move like 300 little men.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So very quickly, the tactic of this army, it was Skitarii Horde, but it wasn't just Skitarii Rangers. It was like loads of other stuff. It was like infiltrators, the 40 mil choppy guys,
Rust stalkers and shit.
The sterilizers, the guys with the wings, the flying ones.
Yeah.
Essentially, it was like the entire playstyle was cock block. So what it does, it has redeploy after the first turn roll, so it can choose up to 3 units before the game starts. After the first turn roll, it can redeploy 3 Skitarii units. Everything in that army is Skitarii can redeploy 3 units, which is very unique because most armies have a redeploy before the first turn roll, so you know if you're going first, basically. And also, the last balance patch, if you have a rule such as infiltrate, it allows you to use that when redeployed, which previously didn't. So
I did not know that was
so if you have any redeploys, you can use infiltrate or any other rule that allows you to deploy differently than just going in deployment zone.
So if you win the first roll, you can infiltrate in and if you lose the first roll, you can infiltrate in and body block transports.
Yeah, or what he did, this player, he went first and put all of his infiltrators, etc. There's another unit that can infiltrate as well on the front line, and then moves towards his opponent with Scout. Because Scout has no limitation of 9-inch deployment zones, only models. So if in this instance the opponent had like screened right in the corner and like hid back, so he infiltrated, scouted 6 forward, moved forward, and blocked him in his deployment zone and couldn't move. So he kills all that shit at the front.
Just to clarify this again, because I don't want to be too comp focused, but so in 40k you move, then you shoot, then you charge, then you fight. You cannot, and most of the time outside of like melter mines and shit, you can't normally do damage before moving.
It's very limited.
Yeah, it's very rare. So not like this happens with Nurglings, with Scouts, and in this case, a load of stuff in the AdMech Codex, I guess.
Yeah.
You just get in the way. So it's a key thing. If you're at your local store and one of your friends is absolutely wrecking you with a Land Raider, take something that forward deploy it on the line.
Yeah.
Even if you lose first turn, they still can't drive past them. If you get first turn, you can walk up to it, stand an inch away, and just
don't even shoot. Just hold your dick in the wind.
And on rare occasion, you can just charge it because a Land Raider is not going to kill 3 Nurgling bases in combat, and now it's stuck in combat as well.
Yeah.
So body blocking is a huge.
Yeah. So basically, he just like boxed his opponent. His opponent was playing Hypercrypt, which is the teleporting Necrons. So
they should be able to play around it a little bit with their redeploys and shit and the teleports and stuff.
So he boxed him in, spread all over the board. So he couldn't deep strike because obviously he's got a monolith. The monolith is huge.
Yeah, a monolith is very easy to screen, and by screen we mean don't give it space to drop outside 9. Yeah.
So he basically had hardly anywhere to drop anything. I think he only deep struck like a single destroyer, which is like a 160 mil base. That's all they deep struck turn 1. Killed all the stuff in front of him, but he's still in his deployment zone. Turn 2, deep strikes all these like winged guys with flamers and stuff. You know they have a special rule. After they shoot, they can make a normal move. of 6 inches.
And there's no restriction in the game at current to stop you moving after deep striking if a rule allows you to?
Correct.
Cool.
So what he does
can you warp move a Magnus post deep strike?
Yeah.
Now? But you can't charge.
Yeah.
Huh.
You can move Magnus like 3 times as well, which is silly. But yeah, so you can move Magnus like 3 times a turn. Which is
because in 9th edition they removed this. They absolutely gutted all the options to move post.
When you deep strike, you stood still unless you're charging. But now there's no restrictions. So what happened was all of these guys with the wings came down, shot their flamers, killed a couple of Necrons, moved 6 inches forwards. So now his opponent had 3 inches to move forwards, kills all those. It's now turn 3. He's still in his deployment zone. He's moved approximately 5 inches with his entire army. And then
that's
I
cool.
was just like, wow.
But it's really cool that it's like a completely different way to play.
Yeah.
Because like the AdMech codex cannot really play the game on the axis that everyone else does. Because like its damage output is too low. And but it's also the other thing about this, we will move on from our intro talking about this event, but I think these are interesting points. AdMech has gone to being a horde army, just like Sisters have this edition. And both of those armies have expensive kits. So to actually play them in any capacity that's any good, even reasonably good, just makes them wildly more expensive than anything else in the game.
And yesterday they came down in points as well. Like not everything, but a lot of the units came down.
Yeah, so the army just got like £150 dearer or whatever. If you
something similar.
Maybe not that amount, but not far off, right?
It's more. It's just you just need so much for a full army, which is very strange. But that list composition and that playstyle was really interesting. It's not something I've seen for a while. Someone compared it to like Blue Magic. It's like all control. All it does is just like it's not quite the same, but someone was just like,
no, it kind of makes sense though. You have no damage output. You only have like one haymaker, as it were.
Yeah.
So you're just actually it's probably more comparable than Blue Control is to Stacks. God, if any of you I assume half my audience actually play Magic as well. Stacks is the idea that it's a prison, so you play cards that stop your opponent from doing anything.
Yeah.
So you play a card that says you can't cast 1 mana spells. So you play another card that says that if any spell will be cast, it has to have a minimum of 3 mana spent on it. So and then you blow up one of their lands. So they're stuck on 2 lands and can't cast anything.
Yeah.
It's a thing that I really like. It's Stacks. It's prison. That's probably more comparable.
Yeah.
Because you're just absolutely reducing your opponent's ability to do anything.
Yeah.
So they have one thing they can do, which is move and shoot, and that's just not enough to play the game.
They're just not holding objectives, which is like 90% of the game.
Because that kind of prison control is interesting in Warhammer compared to Magic. Because in Magic you've got infinite time in theory. Because you can go to like turn 58, right? You can draw your whole deck in theory. Obviously there's time and rounds and stuff.
Yeah.
But in Warhammer, this is an interesting about Warhammer compared to Magic is that you have 5 turns and the game ends.
Yeah.
So if you can actually just prison your opponent for like 3 of those.
Yeah.
Or really oppress them. This is kind of what orcs do as well. You just slam into them and they don't get to do much for enough time. You just win, which is a really interesting comparison because in Magic you can draw out of it. If you prison someone with no win con and you're just playing, they will inevitably draw out of the prison.
Yeah,
but in Warhammer you don't have that time to draw out of the prison. You just
no exactly
do nothing for 3 turns and then
especially how the missions work because some missions you don't have to interact with your opponent at all. For example, like one of the most common picks because obviously like in 40k you have a deck of cards that you can either draw from each turn, draw 2 cards. They're your like mini objectives each turn, or you can take 2 fixed ones, which is like half the deck is allowed to be fixed. It's just it's preset, and you can choose 2, and then you play those each turn. And the most common ones is cleanse, which is essentially don't stand on an objective, say you're cleansing it, get some points, and then deploy teleport homers, which is stand in the middle of the board, say you deployed a teleport homer, get some points. So actually, you can win Warhammer without shooting a gun once. The whole reason you shoot is to stop your opponent shooting you back and losing units.
Yeah, it's to trade off like resources that they will use to score points. Warhammer's a game of points, not killing for the most part. There's very few. There are like 2 secondaries that kill stuff. We break it down and assassinate. But.
Yeah, there's like quite a few because obviously there's like if you play tactical, which is like drawing, there's like I think it's almost half the deck is killing. It's like there's like no prisoners.
Oh, no prisoners and
overwhelming force.
Yeah, so kill stuff on objectives, kill stuff in general, kill characters, kill vehicles. There are at least 4 kill ones out of 16.
Yeah,
that's a third of the deck already.
Yeah. So there's like
a third?
4/4. There's probably more.
Maths is hard.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just right. Really interesting, like a weird play style that there's like doesn't come up very often.
I played a game on TTS a little while back. I played Guard and I played as many infantrymen and a Lord solo as I could.
Nice.
Which because they've got 4 different battle line profiles. You only take 6 of a battle line a troop. So you can only take 6 squads of conscripts or Cadians at 20. But you've got conscripts, Cadians, infantry, Cadians, Krieg, and maybe it is conscripts. There's 4, isn't there?
I think
Either way, you can't actually. It's just if you want to max all of those at 20 men, you can't fit them to 1,000 points. So I end up with like 210 men plus Lord Solar.
Yeah.
And then because you can raise the squad of 20, you end up playing about 260 models per the game. Playing against Tau, and all I did was I stopped firing guns after turn 1 because it was just pointless firing these flashlights and a melter gun here and there. And then I just spread out and stood on objectives, and I think I outscored them. Like the game was really low scoring because I couldn't score secondaries, neither could they. For the shooty killy ones.
But 50% of the points in the game are standing in the right place usually.
Yeah, and then we've also got a new faction with the orcs. They've got like you can play 120 boys now.
Yeah,
and that's I think 120 boys is actually more killy than it sounds. But they could also just be all over the fucking place, and then you're just like body blocking. So let's move on for a moment, and because we spent a long time talking about that, but I thought it was interesting topics, and that's how conversation works. So what about Chud Watch? This is my new segment that might not exist for too long.
Chud Watch.
So the Daily Mail commented on the Custodes thing. Did you read the article, Mikey?
It's Warhammer now. Yeah, I did read the article. I laughed all the way through.
The best bit of the pictures. So there's like AIR of Henry Cavill in a knight's outfit.
They mentioned Henry Cavill 7 times.
Well, you got to get SEO up, haven't you? Yeah. A picture of a woman walking past a Games Workshop last decade.
And it's past it.
And it's captioned "Woman walks past Warhammer shop."
Oh man!
And then the other one was
Age of Sigmar. There's an Age of Sigmar picture.
Oh yeah, there's a picture of some Stormcast
of Age of Sigmar because it was like Sigmar versus
8-year-old Age of Sigmar picture in relation to Custodes.
Yeah.
And then the final one was Enthusiast Plays Warhammer, and it's like a picture of someone playing with like a really badly painted set of like
it's Battle from the Crag. Yeah, from when I started Warhammer like 20 years ago.
It's like 5th edition or something, right? Or 4th?
There was one picture that was relevant. It was from a UKTC event, but I think so because I think it's supposed to be on some free platform.
But I assume, well, even UKTC doesn't make much sense. Female Custodes got nothing to do with comp play.
Well, no,
like none of these images made any sense.
Yeah.
Like, none of them. There was not a picture of a Custodes on the fucking article. It's so funny. Beyond that, a gentleman on Twitter called Derek, I'm not going to give his actual Twitter handle because I don't think he deserves any fucking views. He wrote an email, right? I'm not going to even show it.
Mate.
He wrote an email to, and I quote, the investor relations team at GW. I bet he's got no investments with them either. He owns no stock. And it just basically asked them to unblock him.
His Lexicanum camp.
yeah. He actually owns no models either. It's just this login for a wiki that I don't own. And I quote, this blocking me on Twitter is a divisive action. Not all voices are arguing in good faith. This action damages your brand. Look, they're allowed to block you if you're being a dickhead. That's just how it works.
Did you see the other one? Funny. The Black Shields post?
Yes! Oh, fucking... I don't know why I didn't get that one already. Yeah, go on, Mike.
The footnotes. There's a guy, and he's like, guys, Warhammer is... Sorry, play L Death Note theme again. Warhammer has turned against us. This is our Isvan 3. It's gone so hard we're skipping to Isvan 5 because Horus, the woke, is against us.
So for those that don't know, Isvan 3 is the moment that Horus and the traitor legions virus bomb their own men that won't turn against them. Yeah. It's like a huge war crime and atrocity. Mike doesn't know this because Mikey doesn't know about the law.
I've read the first 3, 4, 5 books.
So they virus bomb the loyalists, and then they murder remembrancers, which are basically journalists / historians. So they murder all the ones that won't, because they don't want this moment being recorded in history. So it's like a huge atrocity, the first big atrocity of the Horus heresy, arguably.
Yeah.
There are some other bits. And this guy's just comparing female Custodes to like fucking melting your brothers and like murdering historians. It's fucking wild.
Oh my god. Only brothers, never anything else.
No, never anything else. What the fuck are you talking about?
You wokey.
But then, yeah, so he went on the Black Shields and then he was like, he's basically just cosplaying as a Black Templar.
Yeah. I was convinced it was a bit, but then it kept going and I'm like, maybe it's not a bit.
It's like 7 or 8 tweets long. That's probably the most cringe thing.
Yeah.
Like the email to the investor guys is fun. I forgot about Black Shields. So much has happened.
Yeah, again, it's the fallout.
5 or 6 days.
It's the fallout.
It's fucking crazy. Yeah. And then this morning you were added to the list of the wokies, right?
I am 1,000% soy, according to that tweet.
So someone
1,000, not even 100, 1,000%.
There's red, yellow, and green.
Yeah.
Red are the woke accounts you shouldn't interact with. Yeah. Yellow is the fence sitters, which he's not really friend of the pod, but Chapter Master Valrak's on there, which is really funny because they call him ignorant and a fence sitter. And if I'm honest, I like you, Valrak, but that might be a little bit accurate because you're like, I don't really know what's going on.
It's a bit brutal.
Anyway, you're on the red side. Oh, and the green side is basically it's like Arch and any other guy.
All the people who are blacklisted by GW are green. They love Warhammer.
Yeah. All the ones who are like, oh, we can't say slurs on YouTube and that's a bad thing.
Yeah, we just say the letter word, etc.
But you are, and I quote, 1,000% soy.
I'll tell you where your badge of pride, mate. I'm gonna get a T-shirt with it 1,000% soy in the back.
I think I think that'd be fucking sick. You should you should do objective markers. I'm just saying 1,000% soy on them. I can't believe they're still using soy. That is a thing that I thought
I know,
passed.
was it like 2012 maybe?
I know. H Bomber had like fucking murdered that with his video about soy boys, but
oh man, I love
we're back. We're back, baby. And then there's a lot of people on there that are like it's you, it's Goober Town, it's Midwinter Minis.
I'm with awful people on that list, man. Oof.
You're in good company. Some good people. Some good
gross.
people.
Yeah, I really wish I was.
So yeah, that's Chud Watch. There's not really much more to it, is it? It's just a lot of people still melting down.
This is the last segment of Chud Watch, probably, unless there's something really interesting next week.
This is never going to end. This is never going to end. Right, what's going on in Warhammer then, outside of the Chuds?
Oh, well, everyone's selling their armies, and no one else can sell their armies because Games Workshop have decided to write them out of the games that they make, which is very fun.
Oh, that's the main topic for this video. We're 40 minutes into the podcast, and we're finally hitting the topic.
Sorry, everyone.
So this video might be called "Don't Squat Me, Bro," but I don't think that's a very good clickable like SEO or so. Who knows? But in essence, something I really wanted to talk
Games
about for a
Workshop
while.
killed my army. There you go. You enjoy it. Just
Yes, there you go. Fucking that one's for free. Games Workshop killed my dog / army.
So I think that's what 52 Miniatures uploaded yesterday. He's also on the red list for being soy or woke or whatever. He was like, Games Workshop killed my army. Half his custom Stormcast army just like out the window.
Okay, so let's talk about AOS for a second then. So 4th edition's coming this summer.
Sure is.
Quite excited myself. Are you going to play?
Yeah, I was like a huge fan of Age of Sigmar, especially when 40k was really bad. I like went full send into Age of Sigmar. And I think it's a great game. I think it's really fun. It feels like 10th edition 40k has borrowed a lot from it, such as like the reactionary side of it, like being able to interact with your opponent in their turn, which has made it quite fun. Because like game wide, like we talked about, if an army's got a thing that lets you move in your opponent's turn is really strong. That's basically from AOS because every unit in the game could do that. Once per turn.
And Heresy like reiterated on it with the reaction thing when it launched as well.
Yeah, so I think it's a really good game. I think arguably the models are a bit better.
I think the centerpieces absolutely are.
Yeah,
like, there's not really much argument about that.
It feels like they've got a bit more scope of freedom in making monsters, and I love monsters, and I love walking robots. And
you also allow women in it as well without the Daily Mail reporting on it.
I'm out.
Daughters of Cain. What? So I'm currently building and painting. I've got nothing to hand. It's on the shelf behind me. I can't be able to get up. I'm currently building Blades of Khorne.
Nice.
So people know where I'm at with this, and I'm going to play Blades of Khorne. And people are going to be, but Vince, it's not the aggressive melee armies that you enjoy. I know. The damage output is lower than Orcs, which is probably going to be my second army if I get around to a second one. But they're like a control army. You're talking about blue magic earlier.
Yeah.
Blades of Khorne can, in the current edition, fuck knows what it'll be like in the next edition, but in the current edition, they can force enemy units to move towards you. They can pull you into combat, like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, or edgy shit. All sorts of crazy, cool control stuff. I love that. The fear is, so for those that don't know, 4th edition's coming in summer. We start to get all the data slate stuff, which is kind of like collating it all into one, kind of like what they did with 40k.
Yeah, they're what's known as indexing. So they're basically all the books that you bought in the bin. All right. Free PDFs day one, and then we're going to release books every 3 months.
You just can't be surprised anymore. When anyone ever complains about this, I'm like, it does suck, but it's just it's part of the hobby at this point. It's like a rite of passage to buy a book that you use once, and then it gets...
Everyone was there roasting to glasses. Oh man, the Index Warhammer 8th edition was so cool. And now they're doing it for every game, and everyone's like, what? Wait a minute. That's not my nostalgia.
It is fun on day one, though. When 10th edition dropped and everyone got like new rules on day one, that was a very exciting time.
It was very exciting, yeah. And
I kind of wish all rules dropped at once, and we just, fuck it, just change the army rules once a year, all drop at once.
Oh, mate.
And for free. That would be, I think that would be fucking crazy. Can you imagine the content cycle and everything?
But also because of, I think less so in Age of Sigmar, in 40k, just get figured out in like 3 months, just like it did. And then
but that's why you change it once a year. Like, I generally believe
3 months, we all play the best army of the game because we all know what it is. We know there's no codexes coming out for 9 months. Everyone would be playing this. Everyone would be playing Eldar.
Sure, I see what you mean. So you have to do data slates. You'd have to do like patches. Okay. Look, from playing a lot of League of Legends and StarCraft and shit back in the day, I think patching is good. And same with digital card games to the most extent. Like, it's good to patch out things, ban things, change things around. I think 40k better for that. That's kind of a different episode.
Anyway.
So, they're revamping and simplifying. Simple, not simplified, or whatever the fucking stupid term they use for 10th edition, which is complete bollocks.
They're doing what is it? They're modular gaming. Modular gaming is a catchphrase to this one. They're basically, they go, right, you start with box, movement phase, slot that one in, round hole, round box, etc. Then you add in the shooting phase and etc. And then, if you want to play the real game, you have to play everything all at the same time. Like, by real game, I mean like General's Handbook.
I thought modular was like attaching chunks of rules on. I thought the base game, you still move, shoot, and fight, right?
Yeah, but they're calling modular. They've like split up into like phases.
They have, yeah. So I think that's more to do with like the base game is you got your 3 phases in your army rules, and then from there you can add the General's Handbook. You can add your codex eventually. And it's just like that's just how it's always been anyway. You can just do this anytime. It's all marketing fucking nonsense, right? It's just marketing.
Simplified, not simple, all over again.
Yeah, it's just complete bollocks that isn't important, and maybe it'll sell to some casuals.
Yeah.
The important point that I want to get to is that they're fucking squatting things again.
Yeah.
Like they are wholesale removing shit from the game. Yeah. So Beastmen are gone. The entire Beastmen. But then they got a book and a sculpt recently. They got a character model.
Yeah, so it was January last year they got a new character, the Beast Lord.
So less than 12 months ago they got a Beast Lord, and then they're no longer in AOS.
Just 12 months.
Oh shit, yeah, what month is it? Fuck, it's almost my birthday.
It's almost May.
Okay, I'll forgive them. 14 months ago they put this character, time to remove them from the
game. They had faction terrain when they first started doing that in like AOS 2 or maybe AOS 1. They got endless spells when they started doing that in AOS 2. That was AOS 2.
Their endless spells are cool too. They got the stampeding horse thing.
So they're basically, unlike other factions, like, for example, Ogres, who have had nothing. I think they've had one character, maybe, since they came out in AOS. Beastmen felt like, even though they hadn't had, like, a huge range update or anything, they felt, like, more supported with, like, the faction terrain, the endless spells, the new character last year.
When did the endless spells land?
I think that was AOS 2, if I remember correctly, because that was my line sorcery.
I was about to make a comparison. They seem to have the same amount of support as Custodes.
Yeah.
But that's not true, because Custodes got one character this edition and one character last edition.
Yeah.
So they're currently 100% more support than Beastmen ever had. So that's not a good comparison. Okay.
So within the last 6 years, it was like not within the last 3, but before that. So like 4 to 6 years ago, they got endless spells and terrain, I believe, altogether.
Sure. And they got a book last edition and everything. They just did everything.
But yeah, like Ogres have had just books, basically. And they are an AOS faction through and through. They're staying in the game. But Beastmen felt more supported and then have been like gone. They basically got big kick the arse back into old world.
Yeah, but you say this, but there's an argument now that if that happened to Beastmen and they got more support than Ogres aren't exactly exempt from this.
No.
And also, I know it should happen at the beginning of the edition, but as we see with 10th edition, if we show to 40k again, we're going to bounce between the two to talk about this.
Yeah.
They're just like orc books. Instead of dropping a lot of all the Forge World stuff at the beginning of the edition, every book that comes out, they're just dropping both Forge World and non-Forge World. We'll come to more about the orc stuff in a second. But
so like it's a bit strange, and I think a lot of people, understandably, a lot of people are upset because Beastmen are a popular faction. Because they have like a cool, very unique range,
and they're iconic. They're actually an iconic part of. This is certainly going to come back to when we talk about the Marines at the end, but they're an iconic part of Warhammer.
Yeah, and they're an iconic part of the setting right now, because most of the setting is because I don't know how much you play AOS, but essentially like each handbook, and like the handbooks essentially push the narrative of the what's happening in the lore. And I know a lot of people have complaints about AOS lore. It's very thin, but I feel like they're trying to move in the right direction. But like we've just had like been in the realm.
Is it thin? By thin they mean it's not 40k where there's like 15 books released a month.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it feels quite nebulous and thick to a new starter. It's just not 40k with like just nonsensical amounts of shit.
I think because 40k has been very consistent, whereas AOS is kind of like essentially had mini redesigns every couple of years because they like had a direction change. Because essentially at the beginning it was like Mortal Kombat. It was like you get your realm gates, you just pop through into another world type deal. And now it's kind of like that. Yeah, so it's kind of like that, but not really. But because they're like rebuilding it, so they've just basically got like it's essentially it's in another city. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it does feel messy. I don't really know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, but they were saying the realm of beast.
So who knows?
Yeah, so yeah, again, it's just direction change. I think a lot of what this and the lore comes down to. But they're in the realm of beasts. They've got these like giant dragon-esque bone giant things just appearing out of nowhere. I can't remember.
Do they have a model yet?
Cron spine. The big.
Oh, those. The competitive staple.
Yeah. So they were obviously insane. We could get into rules. They're going to change, but they were insanely good. But the whole
there's a period where every army had to play one.
Yeah.
Which I think is not a good place to be for your game. But.
Yeah. Well, so like, they're in the realm of beasts, and they don't the Beastmen are mentioned, and they don't release any more models or release one beast lord. They kick them out the game.
They should have made it canonical. They should have gone to the realm of beasts and just like killed them all.
Yeah. Actually, there's only about 15 left now, so off we go.
And then it was spelled end times, because when they first killed Fantasy and brought AOS in, that was a canonical in-canon event, right? End times. People don't know they literally ended the world. It's a really cool idea. Apocalyptic event happened, and then we were like, by the way, this actually kills your game and we're starting again, and everyone's like, oh shit.
It's while sucky for the player is a really cool lore point. The problem was, again, I know I won't do it too long, but the problem was is they released loads of stuff for Fantasy for the end times of like 5 sets of books, loads of new models, and they just went actually.
Yeah,
put them on rounds now. Put them on rounds now.
So I mean, but that's relevant to this conversation though, because that was them squatting an entire fucking, not only a setting but like a game.
Yeah,
that they've now brought back many years later, and they brought it back to be somewhere that they can push things out of AOS into for some bizarre reason.
Yeah.
So Beastmen are going to AOS. We know that for certain.
Yeah.
And then they're also cutting. So Bone Splitters are like the old school Savage Orcs. That's the guys running boars. And they used to have I hate using this term, but they used to have Spear Chuckers. I think they were literally called.
They are literally called Spear Chuckers.
Okay, they still are, which itself is here we go. We're going to go, it's soy here, but it is generally a problematic
It's 1,000% soy. I agree.
Yes, exactly. So we've got Savage Orcs and Bone Splitters, which I thought were already a thing. Like I want to collect Orcs and AOS, but I'm never going to collect the Savage ones because the names are a bit wonky, and it's a very much a like caricature of like of savage, less civilized land. I don't like
it's
that.
It's very, very dated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're going to maybe get an update. That's just something you said before we started recording, like our Bones Splitter get an update.
The thing is because in the Orcs and Goblins section of the Old World Ravening Hordes book, all those units are still there.
Yeah. So
with their traditional names as well.
We're going to make... well, that's how you track the fantasy players, by including all of the racism still. Anyway, for people who don't know what's happened here, again, I'm just trying to make sure that everyone can be on the same page. Fantasy has been brought back, being called the Old World. In some ways, I kind of liken it to being Horus Heresy to 40k is what Old World is to Fantasy.
Exactly that. It feels like 40k and Age of Sigmar are kind of like the entry games. Like, I mean, I can say Kill Team, etc. the entry games, but these are like the games that will be pushed. And then when you're deep in it, or you're nostalgia, because that's a lot of it what it is, you might get into the Old World, or you might get into Horus Heresy. It's not really like a...
It's the expert game system. Yeah. The rules are old. Yeah. Like there's like updates of rules from years ago. And in both games cases, a load of the shit is Finecast or resin.
Yeah.
And thus it's also a pain in the arse to model.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's so strange because have you seen like because Age of Sigmar is built on fantasy, and then they've basically taken those armies and the models and put them on rounds, and then eventually updated them. There's quite an interesting one because obviously like night goblins are called glute spine gits, right? And they're like they're little goblins with little like cloaks and little spears and whatever.
Yeah.
They've obviously had new Snarlfang riders, which are like the new goblins riding wolves, and they basically replace a really old kit. Well, in the Old World, they've actually bring you back the old kit. And
it's just nostalgia, which is I say that like I'm being dismissive. It's not like.
But they stopped selling it 2 years ago, and they've gone, oh, actually, we'll just put them on squares and sell them again. It's so weird.
Again, in comparison to Magic, is like they keep printing even new cards in old borders because people like myself are nostalgic for it, which is fine. But I guess in the Magic scenario, everything is printed reasonably regularly. In the GW scenario, here's like a bit of a tangent. They can't keep anything in fucking stock because they make too much shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we're just going to re-release all these old kits.
Yeah.
Because what will be really funny is that Old World kit will probably be available, probably in abundance, because they seem to have oversold it to stores. The stores selling this stuff at discount now. I saw Goblin Gaming with 30% discount on all Old World stuff last weekend. I'm like, I think they've got too much stuff. Anyway, meanwhile, the new AOS models will probably be out of stock for 8 months. Because GW just aren't producing them because they don't have enough factories.
It's so strange because like the old models, they're not like old sculpts that they've been like remolded. They are the same molds. Because a big complaint of mine when I got the Tomb Kings box and the Bretonian box is all the mold slips are all awful. Are really, really bad. Like,
are they the same kind of... Explain a mold slip to our audience.
So basically, when they make models, they essentially... for lack of better, I can't think of it. They make a mold of it, and they obviously pour plastic in it, and then they let it cool down, and then they open it, and then you get a model.
Quite literally injection molding, as this term is called. Right?
Yeah, so
plastic.
So what happens is as these molds get used, they obviously get worn down. Now it takes a long time because they're made of like steel or titanium or whatever. They're made of a hard metal. But essentially what happens is like plastic will start seeping out of like where it's worn on the edges, because obviously the sharp edges have to be slightly rounded, but then the rounded gets ground down over time. So essentially what happens is plastic starts seeping out, and mold slips. It's not really technically mold slips with plastic because they won't slip, but in resin is a big one where the mold literally comes apart or isn't quite together properly, and then essentially loads of material escapes. And on the plastic ones, it's a bit weird because obviously, like, it's made of metal. It shouldn't really slip. So what's happening is the mold is that old and that overused, and they're very expensive to replace. But this is a big company. The plastic is just getting out. So you have like a spear with like just like a big sheet of plastic up the side of it that you're supposed to cut off, but it's like not like a little divot or just like a little strip. It is literally like sheets of plastic. There was a skeleton and it was just a chin, and it did have my beard because it just had plastic sticking out all around it. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? But it's because the models are like the molds have been used for like 25 years.
It's not new molds. They haven't like recast the molds.
They are literally dug out of the box back into service.
Because the other really interesting thing from an old anecdote before I got back into Warhammer, so I used to always go into Warhammer shops and look at all the models and be like, oh fuck, I really want to get back in because I was so into it as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget one conversation where I was like, well, I don't really care about the Lord of the Rings stuff. And this GW employee said to me, and bearing in mind, Games Workshop store employees can talk a lot of shit sometimes, but this guy said, no matter how much you dislike Lord of the Rings or the Lord of the Rings game, it basically bankrolled the production of all the molds and the expensive stuff that allowed like fantasy to continue existing and then into AOS and similar. Because he was saying how Lord of the Rings helped them out at a time when GW was struggling. The exact truth to that I don't know. So it's really interesting to think. It sounds
legitimate because obviously it was a very small company. It's only been on the rise. I don't think Lord of the Rings would have been detrimental to that at the time.
No. I think it probably did coast them through difficult times. Like, but nowadays, obviously, 40k make gangbuster money, and it's just not that they've got all this money come from other places, and they're still not replacing those molds that this guy was saying. Well, those molds wouldn't exist like to me 10 years ago, and those molds still exist in the same capacity because they haven't replaced them. It's probably one of the reasons that a lot of Forge World stuff gets thrown to the wayside, because there's been an argument for a long time that Forge World molds are breaking down and damaged, and they can't replace them because they don't have the original.
Because Forge World is made in a classic way because they essentially use silicon molds, which is something that you can actually do at home. But what they, from my understanding, this could be wrong, but from what I've been told or asked or found out, is essentially what they did is they had like big round molds that they made loads of models on, but it wasn't like, okay, for a prime example was like a Chaplain Dreadnought that was like super popular kit a while ago. But they didn't have like a mold for a Chaplain Dreadnought. They had a mold for a Chaplain Dreadnought with this kit and this kit and this kit on this huge mold that they did all at once. So when kits randomly went last chance to buy, and it seemed nonsensical that like this Dreadnought, this random Chaos unit, this random Orc unit went off sale all at the same time, it's because they were all on the same mold, and that mold was dying, and they weren't going to replace them. Because it wasn't like, here's a Space Marine mold. It was, here's a mold we made in January.
I did not know this. This is an interesting point, because it's the same logistical, it's a similar logistical issue to why certain characters only get sold alongside other units and other characters, because they're all on the same model and sprue.
Yeah.
And they don't want to repurpose, I don't know, the Dark Apostle or whatever it is into its own thing.
Yeah.
That's a bad example, because I think it is its own thing. But any of the shit you get in the starter boxes always come with the Canoptek core.
And the Poxwalkers is a big one. The Poxwalkers, it has half a Plague Marine in the box of Poxwalkers.
Does it really?
Yeah.
I bought all mine secondhand pre-built. I haven't actually built them.
So they came in a starter box, and then they put them in a separate box, but they essentially used all the same sprues. But one of the sprues has half a Plague Marine on it because it came with Death Guard Dark Imperium. So if you buy a box of Poxwalkers, you end up. Yeah, it was like, what's this holy mode sprue for?
Yeah, like, we can't give them a free half a Marine. They got to buy them.
Yeah, but if you're ever in a Death Guard Facebook group or a Death Guard Reddit, every 3 months maybe that new post like, what's this half Marine for?
Huh. Is that why they actually come in 7s? It's nothing to do with the blessed number. It's actually because 3 of the other Plague Marines were on the character sprue and the Poxwalker sprue.
I don't know. I don't because the Plague Marines are a different kit now. The one in the box is
they're not the push fit one they once were.
But yeah, the Poxwalkers are the same models. But yeah, so Forge World, silicon mold, sorry, and again allegedly they had like loads of random kits. Essentially, we've made all these models. They're all getting cast in January, so we'll cast them all together, and that's why they randomly disappeared.
When I bought my Warboss and Warbike, which we're coming to talk about the Orc cuts in a second, I bought him ages ago. I never finished painting him because he went to Legends, came back, then went to Legends again. This is his second time round of being cut from the game. Legends, by the way, people at home, is stuff that's still available to buy or might be available to buy. Not all of it is.
Like legacy content.
Yeah, they're gonna have rules that never get updated, so you can play them casually on a table, but they won't be pointed and they won't be balanced. Yeah, and thus they basically
will have points, but they won't address it. It's just like here's the points what they are now.
Okay, I didn't know they still had points because I think didn't last edition then he gave them power level or some shit. Because power level's gone, right?
Yeah.
Points
now they do points. So currently, if something goes to Legends, it has a data sheet. It says Warhammer Legends on it. It has a points value. How long that will stay through editions, no idea. Because obviously, like, you can play it now, but in like 3
Well, they
years'
changed all
time.
the legend sheets on the 9th to 10th move over because they had to, right?
Yeah, they did, but I
I
don't know.
guess
I don't
on the
know
11th move over, will these things have sheets?
Will they? Will it be the same? I
But
don't know.
the point before we get on to too far is that when I got my war boss, inside his arm socket, he had just a bit of like, it looked like silicon mold.
Yeah, a
in
little
him.
bit of like green or red or something like
Yeah,
that.
so I had one of the ones that obviously destroyed one of their molds or taken
Yeah.
something off, and so no wonder they're decommissioning this shit because they're all falling apart.
Because then,
So
you get bits on your model, and that's where the mold slip and the resin starts leaking out where it shouldn't be, and then that's where you get like flash or like mold lines or mold slips or whatever.
and with resin, it's way worse because you're like trying to get some of the
It's
resin
soft,
shit off.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, and also like, well, and also you just resin's just fucking terrible. Right,
Yeah.
anyway, so Beastmen gone, Savage Orc's gone, and then the really brutal thing. So I'm sat here like making my blades of corn, and I'm like, there's no way I touch these. These are like one of the 4 chaos gods. They're not going to squat a god, right? And these guys win a starter set, and they're one of the main villains for even first and second edition.
Starter set at the launch of Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, there's no way these get gone, right? And then I'm scrolling down the article of what's going, and they squatted a load of first edition Sigmarines, the main faction in the theory, and a load of second. I think one of those they squatted all of it, right? They squatted all of the wizard shit from second.
Yeah, so like basically, I think it was like 40 kits from Sigmar. So there's a post by Warhammer Weekly, Tom, I think his name is, who did a post. It was like a picture, like a piece of paper with every kit on, and then a piece of paper with every kit that's not with the ones being removed, and it's literally like 60% of the range is left.
And that is insane because you're in a poster boy faction.
Just to clarify, 6 years old, these models maximum.
Yeah, exactly. That was the point I was coming to. So the poster boy, this is stuff from starter sets that people have bought into, thinking like starter set stuff never gets killed.
If you've heard of that.
Soul Wars is like one of the box sets.
That's where they launched. Yeah,
that was the second or third edition version of Dominion,
edition,
right?
yeah.
Second edition, yeah. What was the third edition called? Oh, that was Dominion. We're going.
That was Dominion, yeah.
So this stuff's in starter sets. It's not that old. It's really quite new in the grand scheme of things. And they're just like fucking squatting it off, which leads to the question of like what is actually safe and what is actually sacrosanct, if you'll excuse the pun.
So yeah, it's a bit strange. I'd say, like, because you say everyone's like you can sit here and go it's 6 years. It's not actually 6 years. It's less than 6 years because it'd be 6 years in June that the starter box came out, and then all the kits came out like 3-4 months after with the first battle tome. So it's like probably just over 5 years old. Some of these models. Now, ultimately, they're not out of date yet. They're out of date as of the new edition. And
that's a good point. We should highlight that. They have gave everyone a 12-month window, which is way better than them just going, sorry, this is all gone.
Yeah.
It's way better than releasing a load of rules or showing the rules for what are going to make Glot tags good. And then some dude buys like £180 worth of Glot tags on eBay to then find out the next week their Glot tags are going. We're going to come to that in a second.
Yeah.
But giving 12 months window is good.
Yeah, so 12 months, there'll still be even Beastmen, even Bone Splitters, even the Stormcaster referencing, all will have legitimate competitive rules for 1 year, and then they will go to Legends, which is more than they've done before, which we'll go on to with Orcs. But like, it's still a bit like it's still sour taste, you know. It's like, I got a whole year to play this army. It's like a ticking time bomb, and ultimately won't be playable in competitive events, and also it'll like all the time that you spent painting it, building it is wasted. And then you're like, well, at least I get some money back for it. But ultimately, the demand for models that aren't competitive is a lot lower than like.
Well, I do think that we're going to see a influx. Not an influx. That's not the right word. We're going to see a rise in posts on Facebook groups of like, hey, getting into Age of Sigmar. I mean, I don't forget those groups as much as I do 40k ones. I bought this bundle on eBay of Stormcast. And like, sorry, none of those are legal. You're like, excuse me, what? Because there's always this thing in Warhammer that like. Models are kind of meant to be forever compared to Magic, where the main competitive or the main gaming sphere in Magic's meant to be standard where things rotate.
Yeah, they don't have true cycles like Magic does, you know.
Yeah, and rules kind of soft rotate stuff in a way, so I'm not completely ignorant to that fact. But the idea that now models aren't forever, and models are expensive, like you spend time building and painting them, which isn't totally wasted. I build and paint stuff that I have no intention of ever playing with, because I just want to model and build and paint it, because that's part of the hobby. But the idea that there'll be things that you just can't play on the tabletop anymore really bugs me. Yeah. Especially when it's stuff like the Poster Boy faction losing all of its models from the last edition starter set.
That's what's wild, it's the Poster Boy faction. But I think the reason...
Nothing is safe. I'm scared they're going to squat some of the corn stuff. I'm not making it up. I'm like, fuck, what are they just... I mean, some of it will be counts as, right? So if they squatted Reavers or whatever the cultists are called for Bloods, Blade of Corn or whatever, and then they release a new kit and call it something else, which is kind of what they're probably going to do with at least half this Stormcast stuff. To get revamped in some way.
Because if
you can't just play the old stuff counts as.
Yeah, because they've announced Liberators are obviously going to Legends, but we know Liberators get a new kit because they've shown it off. And
have they shown the kit or is it in the trailer?
No, they've shown the Liberator model. I think they showed the whole kit actually. I've seen the show.
Is that the winged ones, right?
No, the Liberators are the shield and hammer guys.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. And the other one is the flying men.
The prosecutors, yeah. So they're
prosecutors.
The guys so anything that's in the trailer is likely getting a new kit, and one of them being the prosecutors, which are the hammers and wings, which did look a bit weird because they were like super chunky armor, wings and hammers, and they are very very likely. I would bank a lot of money on those getting a new kit.
But it's fucking stupid to remove them from the game.
Yeah, but that's
model.
That's what I'm like. I'm like, you should have Legends, and then also these are going off sale, which I think
it is
would
quite
be fine.
literally Primaris again.
Yeah,
they're like no assault marines, assault intercessors,
assault
with
marines,
jetpacks.
scout squads.
But I'm still playing my old scouts. I need to base change them, and I'm playing like Beaky Mark 6 Heresy guys in jump packs. I built them for Heresy. They're my assault intercessors, and no one gives a fuck.
There's no comparison. There's no confusion because it's a space marine with a jump pack.
Yeah, exactly. With the yellow helmets.
Yeah, assault squad going to Legends, and then they're bringing out assault marines. Well, assault.
Assault
intercessors with jump pack.
That example is exactly the same. They're doing this a lot. Which is so fucking stupid. So
it's just the lack of communication with stuff like that. It just feels like it feels worse. It looks worse for you that you're getting rid of 40 kits when actually you're getting rid of 30 kits instead of them being redone.
Well, they did say that some of the Stormcast are coming back, and they hinted at Skaven because Skaven got a lot of stuff squatted too. Yeah, right?
For example, their clan rats are going to Legends or being no longer saying.
But then they revealed another clan rat model.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it like the people that are moving things to Legends and the people that are making the new models just don't talk to each other? Is that the issue?
It must be.
So. It's such a fucking weird situation. So it's actually not as bad and doom and gloom as it seems for some of the factions. I say for Beastmen who are just completely fucked.
Yeah. So with Stormcast, it's everything that was magic with a robe is essentially not coming back. Which is it is a lot of kits for the poster boys.
Yeah, so first edition stuff is getting fixed.
Essentially,
that is just Firstborn into Primaris.
Pretty much, yeah. They're just getting a new. I think they've had I think I've said this a few times, but they've had a design change. They've gone, actually, this doesn't fit anymore, so we're going to redo it.
But then you don't have to squat them. You don't have to remove their rules. You just make new models.
Well, they're making rules for them, and then they're just going, actually, after 12 months, we can't be bothered to balance them. That's essentially what they're saying. They're saying because at the beginning
they're going to make new rules that go away in 12 months, but they're also going to make a new kit with new rules that are going to be called Prosecutor Prime or whatever the fuck they use the terminology.
Or they might just go, yeah, these are prosecutors. They might do that, but for a lot of the stuff that isn't getting redone, they are writing the rules for it. They just they just can't be bothered to balance them, which is understandable when there's so much to deal with.
That is a point that I didn't write down on our show notes. Is bloat. The games get bloated. 40k is worse than the rest of them. Let's talk about. Before we're going to go on to orcs next, but before that, the Marine Codex. How many sheets was it before they squatted Firstborn dreads and shit? 200 and something.
I don't think it's 200, but it's probably
was it 180, 190.
It is somewhat crazy, yeah.
No, I'm saying what it was.
Oh, what it was
before they removed bikes, Firstborn dreads.
Oh, it might be touching 200, yeah.
Yeah, they removed bikes, Firstborn dreads, a couple of tanks, multiple characters,
all the Forge World stuff.
All the Forge World stuff, land
probably 40 kits from Forge World at least.
So there's two things here I want to talk about. First of all, is removing truly iconic shit. I'm going to get annoyed now, right? I'm going to get visibly angry, right? So
let's get the Leviathans back out.
No. I'm not talking about Leviathans. I love Leviathans and Contemptors, but I don't see them as quintessentially iconic Warhammer. They are heresy stuff that I think is neat. I'm talking when you remove fucking land speeders and box dreads. They're the ones where I'm just they should be sacred. Yeah. This is my female custodies, right? I don't
This is your Fan 3.
Yeah, this is my Fan 3. This is that I think the investment firms that I've invested into GW are purposefully removing box dreadnoughts for some nefarious reason.
Have they kept just the Venerable Dread, I think? And they've just basically
I think Venerable Dread exists, which thematically makes sense that the oldest of the dreadnoughts are now venerable. Because no one's getting put into the box dreads anymore. Because Firstborn, when they die, they're probably only in death's duty end, not for them.
No, they nearly die. Then they put them through the Primaris phase, which
the Rubicon that's meant to have a downside.
They almost die again, and then they get put into a Redemptor instead.
Drag them through the river, stick them in Redemptor.
Yeah.
So the Venerable exists, and like the Librarian Dreadnought exists, and the Death Company Dreadnought exists and stuff.
Yeah, but they'll probably get replaced as well. The Librarian.
Which I'm kind of excited for, but at the same time, like, you don't have to remove the boxy. But then the point is, I want my land speeders, my dreadnoughts to exist because they are so important to what Warhammer looks like as a game. But what the fuck do you do with a bloated book like Marines?
The problem, I think the big problem was with that in particular is they went at the start of the edition, or like a month before the edition, they went, all of these Forge World kits like Leviathans, Contemptors, etc. are going to Legends. And then after the game started, after everyone started buying stuff, playing their index or whatever, then they said land speeders, scouts, under fire cannons are going to Legends. It was like the double whammy, which was really painful. If they said at the start of the edition, by the way, all of these kits are going, really ripped a band-aid off, really painful, it'll heal in a day. But it was the fact that they ripped the band-aid off, waited 2 months, and then did it again was really brutal.
Because the argument people were making was like, it's inevitable that Firstborn are going to get cycled out. So again, just to help people who are newer here, I'll come across some magic. Basically, Firstborn are the original Marines that were not true scale. And instead of just true scaling, like I'm arguing they should do with the AOS stuff, is just make new models and use the same rules. They're like, no, there's a lore reason. They're now better, stronger, faster, taller.
How do you resell Space Marines to someone who's already got 60? Is you call them Primaris and give him a different gun.
Give them a better data sheet. There's a period in Warhammer where all the Firstborn had shit sheets and all the Primaris had good sheets. And then they started to like go back on that and make all the Firstborn also good. It was just a mess. So then they're like, so come 10th edition, they squat, like you said, the Forge World stuff. So the Forge World stuff is mainly, almost exclusively, stuff for the Horus Heresy game that got given rules of 40k as well. So I want to talk about that in a moment, about siloing and separating games. So they remove all that, and I'm like, okay, it looks like the Firstborn are safe.
Yeah.
And they're like, sorry, lol.
Think again, bro.
Get fucked. And I'm like, why not do it all in one go? So when people are like, well, you're not expecting this, I'm like, no, because they squatted a load of stuff, then squatted a load of stuff a few months later.
Yeah.
And again, I don't even mind them removing
it's a lack of
shit.
communication that's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, when you get rid of land speeders and the boxy dreadnoughts, and then so when you get rid of assault marines and add assault intercessors with jetpacks, they are a clear, I can play like for like, I can play counters, I can play proxy.
Rules-wise, they're almost identical, except the new ones are slightly worse. There's a slight rules change with how their Hammer of Wrath works, but it's not crazy. But it is the same.
I thought the
rule.
intercessor ones were better. I thought Hammer of Wrath was better than what the old assault marines used to do.
If I remember,
the assault marines saw no play outside of being really cheap.
On a comp side. If I remember correctly, the assault marines essentially when they made a charge, you roll a dice for every model in the unit. It might be the other way around, but essentially the change is one of them was roll a dice every model in your unit on a 4+, you do mortal wound, and then it became every model that makes engagement range.
I think it's the other way around. I think the new ones are not engagement range anymore because a lot of those things have moved. The orc thing has, and while you're looking it up, so they can count as, but then when you get your beautiful,
it's within engagement range now, so it used to be the old way.
Oh fuck! I thought it was the other way around. He schooled me. I got him on law last week, 2 weeks ago, and now he's got me on rules. Fuck. And now for people who can't see, he's licking his tongue between his opened fingers like he's eating my ass. Right, anyway. So you can do countouts with Marines, but the boxy dreads and land speeds my land speeds are just on my shelf.
Yeah, they're just because obviously they've essentially replaced them with the new land speeders, the Thunder
Storm speeders. They're like 7 times bigger.
Yeah, and the Thunderfire cannon was essentially replaced by the turret thing that no one uses.
The servo turret.
Essentially a Thunderfire cannon. But
you noticed that Mikey doesn't know the name of any of the units that aren't competitively viable?
So
that's not true. One of the Storm speeds is actually really good for bonus AP. Anyway,
they've essentially replaced them. Spiritually replaced them, but they don't fill the same role. They're completely different size. They do different things on the tabletop, especially like the Thunderfire cannon one because that was like an indirect turret. And now it's like a las cannon or an auto cannon, which is obviously neither of those are indirect.
Yeah, they're not even remotely comparable. Yeah. I don't know. I am being old man shouting at clouds, but I just
clouds
believe
are really offensive.
They are. It's like I said, it's the woke investors removing my box dreadnoughts. But I think like the box dreadnought walking out in the Dawn of War intros is one of the most fucking iconic things for Warhammer ever. And they're like, do you know what? We'll just remove that from the game.
You want me to upset you? That iconic moment was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
It was like 2005.
I'm fucking old, dude.
We are old, yeah.
I'm the oldest man
That's
ever.
what got me to Warhammer, that trailer. That's when I started playing that game. That was it. But yeah, we've got to remember that little dreadnought was 20 years ago. That iconic thing that they don't reference ever at all anymore. They've got they don't care about it. The company's been sold 4 times.
Has it been sold 4 times?
I'm pretty sure Sega just sold all their 40k
Oh,
rights.
you mean Relic and Dawn of War, you mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I thought you meant Games Workshop.
No. The company that made the game. My apologies.
Yeah, Relic Entertainment, yeah. When they botched Dawn of War 3. Oh, that's a whole different episode that I have not very strong opinions on because I don't really care. Okay, so the siloing thing, real quick. We're going to do this quickly, then we're going to get onto orcs that we've been talking about getting onto for like an hour, right?
That's called
They seem to have this
engagement.
obsession right now. So say again.
That's called engagement. Keep people listening. The orc thing's coming, guys.
We're talking about orcs.
It's like
talking about orcs
George
soon.
R.R. Martin taught us all by winter's coming eventually. One
We also just haven't talked. We're not going to talk about Custodes at all. Custodes got done dirty. Maybe that's an episode another
there
time.
you go.
They just want to separate out kits to have rules in only one game. I don't understand why they keep doing it. So they're like, oh, these factions, instead of giving us Beastmen rules for AOS and Old World, we're going to move them only to Old World.
Yeah.
And then we've got all these heresy kits that we did in plastic that everyone bought because they're cool in 40k. And then we're just going to swap them out of 40k and make them only playable in heresy.
Yeah.
So I have a load of units that I probably would never play with again. And they keep doing it and doing it and doing it. But in reality, personally, I think giving kits modularity and multi-purpose makes them more desirable and more likely to be bought, right?
Yeah, because
if I can buy a Necromancer gang and play as a mercenary, I'm more likely to do that than
the one army that you can still do that with is demons in 40k and Age of Sigmar, and
which
their side
does
game.
make me wonder if they're going to start trying to pull away from that.
Because with the old world, obviously that return that is based on a lore set that they essentially killed off and rebooted, and there's loads of armies in that lore that they've essentially brought back, but there's very relevant players that are kind of left to the wayside, and they have what's known as legacy rules. So essentially, legends, but for the old world, they call them legacy armies.
That's the whole demon army, right?
Yeah, the demons, vampire counts, because they've been redone in Age of Sigmar as Soulblight Gravelords. They've had and essentially Flesh Eater Courts. They've kind of like developed so far that they don't really resemble what they used to be. Skaven are a huge essentially plot point in all of fantasy, and they've been left to the wayside as legacy. And essentially they've kind of anything that's in Age of Sigmar that has been redeveloped has been called legacy, and anything that's in Age of Sigmar that is like Beastmen, for example, hasn't really been redeveloped, has been kicked back.
It's so fucking stupid. Why would you not want to give your player base?
So it's very odd, and again, like with 40k, so the heresy units can't be used in 40k, and a lot of the Forge World stuff is...
The reason for it is they want people to buy separate armies for separate game systems. They do not want someone getting into demons because they can play it in 3 different game systems.
Yeah.
That is the cynical view.
Ultimately, it's not. They're not doing it to help you. It's capitalism. Anyway, capitalism episode.
But my argument is, I will buy more kits from other game systems if they're usable in 40k.
Yeah, because it makes them more desirable as a consumer, right? You could buy one model and it works in 2 games, or works in 3 games.
The whole thing of it's a proprietary technology sort of shit. Like you separating everything out and making you have to buy separate things, like separate cables for Sony gear and shit. It's bollocks. I fucking hate it. But it's like...
I'm going to say, I watched a video from the Honest Wargamer, and he was talking about, because he used to work at GW, and he was talking what he thinks is happening. And I think a lot of it does kind of make sense. Ultimately, it may come down to balance sheet stuff. Like when you release a model and it's let's say let's release a Khorne model, because you love Khorne, a new Bloodthirster that's bigger and badder than all the other ones.
Sweet.
That's cool. You're going to buy that, and you're going to use it in 3 different games. When they come to look at investing in that game that they made it for, let's say they made it intentionally for Age of Sigmar, but release rules for everything else, comes in Age of Sigmar box, but it can be used in 40k.
It's confusing as to which brand is growing.
Yeah, I think that's what it might come down to, because you look at for example, if you sell 5,000 Leviathan Dreadnoughts, you're like, whoa, 30k vehicles are doing really well. Let's invest in those. But people are just using them in 40k, and they're not going to make rules for that. I think that's what it comes down to. It's kind of how we got profit and loss for this game. We can't muddy the waters with anything else. Where ultimately, as a consumer, you would think they're selling models. Who cares? They're still selling stuff.
But even I don't doubt that might not be the actual.
That's the game theory. I think that's it.
I think bureaucracy, right? Just a bureaucratic bullshit, almost like a parody of the Imperium, where they don't really know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
But the reality is, GW invest in so many weird specialist games that I doubt actually make them as much money as they would like.
Yeah.
So, and 40k makes them tons of fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
So why not make all this shit playable in 40k, even just with a legend sheet at the very least?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I'm talking about
exactly.
like cross-compatible, like the fucking... Necromunda has cooler squat models. The Leagues of... Here you go, here's a hot take. Leagues of Votann model line fucking sucks.
Yeah,
They look like shit. They're boring.
Okay. Well,
You don't agree?
I think it's fine.
Fine is not good enough, Mikey.
Yeah, but
Fine is not what we should aim
if
for.
they get a walking robot, I am gonna shove my dick in it. Okay.
Where are the helicopters? Where are the trains?
They have a walking robot in Necromunda.
Exactly. They have so much cool shit in Necromunda. All of the squat models look better.
Yeah.
Anyway, so why not give them fucking 40k sheets? And balance me down. The game's never fucking balanced anyway. But really, the crux of the matter is, I do want to complain. You hit it out earlier, and I swerved your complaint. But Leviathans and Contemptors should be legal in 40k.
They should be.
Because they're fucking sick.
Even if they're just limited to one again, you know? Just say you can only have one of each, or one single one. That's what they used to do. It used to be a stratagem to bring them in. A relic.
Yes, relics of the...
Dark Age or whatever.
Not Long War. That'd be what the Chaos one's called.
Yeah.
But
so I don't know. It's just very strange, and I think it makes me worry about their other side games as well. Because obviously, with this squatting of the big Age of Sigmar thing, they also announced that they were not going to be selling any of or removing the Warcry warbands from Age of Sigmar. Which essentially,
where the fuck are they going to live? I just bought one of the Underworlds or Warcry things because it was like on cheap in my shop to get some Slaughter Priests.
Yeah.
So either they're that unit that they are because they have a unit in AOS, or next edition they might just be like generic Slaughter Priests because I think they're going to squat it all.
Yeah. So like, because obviously like they have Warcry, which is essentially their AOS's version of Kill Team. Great game, by the way. One of Games Workshop's best game rule sets, I would say. And that's a lot.
Okay.
I think it's very fun. But like a lot of people buy those to use them in Age of Sigmar. Now, I think with the Dark Oath box that they've just released, essentially the Marauders update, all the infantry, they were essentially the Warcry warbands filled a role that their Age of Sigmar didn't have, was like updated chaos cultists, essentially. So they're going away, but it makes you wonder, like, if they're going to do that in Warcry, to essentially, if this balance sheet game theory is true, of like we have to keep all our products separate so we know what's doing well and what's not, I think they'll start doing the same with Kill Team as well, because all of these random kill teams like the Adeptus Arbites, the Henchmen, etc., they are
they'll go.
Yeah, they're solely Kill Team in every Imperium list, you know, for 40k competitively, because they're cheap infantry. They just sit in the back and do nothing. But that makes me worry, is the same thing going to happen with those? Because that's what they don't want people to buy Kill Team to play 40k. They want people to buy Kill Team,
which is absurd. Just get people to buy models because they like the thing that does well.
Yeah. Again, it's all based on this game theory of like
half those Kill Teams won't go
etc.
because the vast majority of them are like Striking Scorpions, Cassacre.
Like those, for example,
those ones can't. They've already fucked things up. Like, they've already mangled the rules in 10th edition to fit the Kill Team shit. It's like the Commando squad in the Orc book. It's like a 10-man squad. They can take like a different weapon each to make the unit unplayable on the tabletop, which takes you 5 minutes to resolve them, 10 minutes to resolve one unit shooting and or fighting.
Yeah, same with scouts, one sniper rifle, one missile. Well, one missile ultra is normal, but like you get like a random sniper rifle guy.
Yeah, one sniper, like 3 bolt guns, a shotgun, and a rocket are a lot easier than one radar pistol, one hook shot, one like small dog or whatever,
grappling hook, and then your bomb squig to finish off.
Bomb squig, and when one guy's just got a big hammer gun, it's just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense, and they're also like wildly unplayable because you can't play them as 5, you can play them as 10, and so on and so on.
So I think anything that's like exclusive, that feels exclusive to Kill Team, that isn't like we're gonna redo a kit from the codex, like Henchmen, like RBTs, etc. Will probably go to Legends as well. I don't know how. I think their idea was good, but I think they've had this brainwave of like, no, this is Kill Team. If it doesn't sell well, we'll can the game.
To be honest, they might just do all this for a little while and then come 11th edition and 5th edition of AOS. They're just like, fuck it, let's open it up again. This may not be forever when they realise that actually
it's all
30k doesn't sell very well unless people are buying it for 40k, basically. 30k being Horus Heresy, for those wondering. We spent a lot of this video moaning, and the Orc book is probably actually overwhelmingly positive outside of the squatting that we're about to talk about. So we're going to probably close out the video now just by getting to the Orc bit, which is that
let's do the Orc bit that we
also...
Let's do the Orc bit that we promised,
Yeah, they squat a load of shit out of the Orc book. A lot of it I don't own. I only own the Warbite guy and some proxies of some Grot tanks, but...
Yeah. So for reference, if you don't know, so the new Orc Codex has just come out. And
It's fucking sick, by the way. Just to get some positivity on the table.
It's a very, very strong book. Very, very
It's strong, it's deep, it's wide. Like there's
multiple ways to play it, which is nice.
I genuinely believe every single one of those sub-factions is playable at a comp event, and you can do well with it. You may not win the event with it, but like they're all genuinely quite strong and quite good and quite fun and quite thematic.
So obviously with new codex, they like to address some units. We kind of expect now it's become the norm that anything that's fine cast, such as like basically special characters, unless they're going to get redone, it's likely they're going to get removed. So Captain Badrook, the pirate captain with the flash kits, he's been removed. He was a very, very popular choice. He has been removed. And Zagstruck, which is the essentially Stormboy character, has also been character. There's a few other units in there as well, like the terrain, etc., from the codex that has been removed. And the Nob with Warbanner, I think that's 4.
Yeah, he's gone as well.
Yeah, there's Nob on Smasher Squig has been removed, but he's been now joined back into the Squig Hogboy. So he's not
they're continuing with that thing of if you get a box of stuff, that's where the stuff goes. Outside, well, actually, no, to be honest, this is an unusual occurrence because normally with like a big mech, they haven't done that, and the big mech builds out of the Mega Nob book. And same with Custodies as well.
Yeah,
but actually, they reduced the characters, the unit sizes to.
It's very pick and choose. It's very pick and choose a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's actually not as consistent as I was about to say. I was about to say it's consistent. It's not.
It's not. I'm afraid. So that's like normal, but with Age of Sigmar, they went, here's a big list. Everyone was really sad, but here's a list of stuff. With this, they've actually said nothing about the characters in the codex and not said like, oh, these characters are disappearing. They've said nothing. And then not yesterday, the day before. So yesterday, as time of filming, it's Friday. Thursday, we had the points update. And then Wednesday, they actually secretly updated the Legends list and added a bunch of Forge World units for orcs onto.
So I believe all Orc Forge World is gone. There is no Orc Forge World
barring the Gargantuan Squiggle.
Oh, of course, yeah,
big Squiggle.
Big problem. Okay.
So and now this is like a complaint because I obviously I work with GW because I'm a reviewer. And like we get like notified of a lot of stuff, but we all got blindsided by it as well. And everyone online is like going, the new Dread Mob thing has keyword grot vehicle, right?
Yeah, grot tanks have been hyped to fucking high heaven.
24 grot tanks, and then Wednesday they just went. There's like kind of like slipped a note under the door, but no one noticed. And then it was like, oh shit, actually, this has been updated.
Don't believe it. The note just says, "Don't believe his lies." The picture of Mikey on it.
Yeah, don't believe his soy, his 1000% soy. So they've put grot tanks as well as a whole bunch of other Forge World stuff. Basically, as I said, everything barring the Gargantuan Squig is now not playable competitively, and there was there's no article, no notification. They just went, yeah, we'll not tell anyone.
So there's a few layers to that because so shout out to Mikey on my Discord, not you, different Mikey, Mike Guinea.
Shout out to me just in case.
Well, yeah, shout out to you as well. But Mike Guinea, who I always pronounce the surname of incorrectly, posted like an image of a guy like being very sad that he'd spent £180 on like 10 got tanks or whatever on eBay. Brutal. Less than that, all painted up and lovely, and now they're just fucking paperweights. Or they're like beer and pretzel grot tanks. But to be fair, the problem with this is you don't go to a beer and pretzels game to play a thing that's actually very, very strong, because then your mate's going to think you're a dickhead.
No, exactly.
So grot tanks have no home now. They have literally no home.
Yeah.
But on top of that, like killing off Zadrock. Instead of killing off, removing Zadrock and
Zagstruck.
Zagstruck. He's the guy with the jetpack. What was the other one? The pirate dude?
Badrook. Captain Badrook.
Badrook. Removing them is super interesting because like Badrook shows up in like a book they released last year, like one of the novels. He's like a bit part and stuff. These are like big orc names. Like they cut down from having like, is it 4 or 5 named orc characters down to 3?
Yeah, I think so.
Which is so weird for like one of the big, like the biggest Xenos faction other than Eldar, perhaps.
Yeah, so the
strange decision.
The most recent they did that was Necrons. Obviously, when Necrons got their codex in January, they removed 3 special characters: Nemesaur, Zandrek, Vargard, Oberyn. So they're like the two gay Necrons. That's probably why they got rid of them, because they're gay.
Oh,
like,
is Nemesaur the one from Infinite Divine?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh wow! So if you are front and center of a novel, you aren't.
Or maybe.
Safe.
Or is that the other one? Oricon Diviner. I can't remember because you're asking me about books. But anyway, they were the other guy. What's his name? The other one. The other character got removed. He was like the lead in the Blood of Baal, which is like a huge narrative campaign from late 7th edition, and he's also mentioned a lot. He was Zandrek, Nemesaur, Zandrek, I got over in. There's another one.
So was it 3?
There's
So
3
they went
characters.
from.
There's 3 characters.
They got loads of name characters. They got too many.
But Trazin, who's obviously important.
Oh, it's Trazin and Orican that are the book. The
Yeah, so
Infinite and the
Trazin
Divine.
is
Trazin,
still
the Infinite,
Finecast.
Orican, and the Diviner.
My apologies. Yeah, that makes sense. Trazin is still Finecast. Didn't get removed. He's still in the book.
Okay, so and Orican's in there too.
But he's now plastic.
Oh, Orican's the one that got the new model.
He got the new model, yeah, along with.
So actually, if you are at the front of one of the most critically acclaimed novels of your faction, you do get to stay.
Yeah, so I think that must be it. So that makes me think he's so popular because of the books, or he's getting a new model eventually.
Well, the main orc guy from the books, from Brutal but Cunning, he got a model, didn't get put into the codex.
He's Legends. He got a Legends status sheet.
So I built him, I painted him. I'm going to play him as a war boss.
He's so sick. He's such a cool model.
Such a cool model, but yeah, like they didn't even make him into the thing.
Yeah, so again, I don't think there's any consistency. You can't really sit and go, all Finecasts are getting removed, because they've shown that's not the case. But a lot of the time, that is the case. You know, so it's just.
I think removing named characters is probably is similar to the Landspeeder Dreadnought thing I was saying before.
Yeah.
Like some things are iconic. Like when the Guard came out and like Creed went, but he's died and his daughter's taken over. That's actually like quite a cool development of the story. But then Yarick, just disappeared.
Yeah. And
now everyone's like, the rumors are he's coming back. I'm like, is he?
Yeah.
Is he?
It's just strange. It's just again, it's one of those things like the way they did Age of Sigmar, whilst it was painful, I think it was the best way they could have done it. Of like, except for the units that are getting replaced, that was dumb. I did say that. Again, separate box.
Yeah.
These models are going off sale.
So you think our orc characters should have had 12 months being able to use the sheet that they gave us?
No, there should have been an article saying that they're getting removed. You know,
12 months ago.
Maybe 12 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, maybe a month ago, maybe when the orc codex got announced, or like say it's going on pre-order next week, and the next day put an article out saying, just so you know, by the way, BT dubs.
I guess like if you are reducing bloat, is it the correct thing to remove a unit, or is it the correct thing to remove a character? Is actually removing a character less painful? Imagine if they like squatted. Well, I don't think they should remove anything. I think the orc book is pretty bloated too. It's like, I don't know, 60, 70 sheets or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But do you remove tank busters instead of Zadrak? That seems like not the correct thing to do.
I think the safest option is, because with special characters, they like to give them like special funky rules that represent how they act in the lore or whatever, you know. They make them feel like the character on the tabletop. A lot of it. Sometimes it's a bit generic, but sometimes they like to make it feel like that's what they do. For example, like Caldor Drago, he can deep strike and he gets plus to charge with deep strikes because he arrives right where he needs to, you know. So yeah, like removing special characters from a balancing point of view is probably a lot easier because they have a unique funky rule, whereas a lot of other rules a lot of the time overlap, you know, like sticky objectives, which is hold an objective, you can walk off it but you count as holding it, is quite a common rule across multiple units in multiple codexes.
Yeah.
Whereas like Captain Badrook can tap to exclusively flash kits and he does something weird with them. You know? So
he made them too good.
Yeah, so getting rid of like special characters is probably
I wonder
easier.
also the overheads, right? Because not only is it Finecast, but like there's also this argument they don't make enough money off character models. That's why the character models are so expensive.
Yeah,
so you only want to buy one of them.
I think Finecast is still done by hand as well, similar to Forge World. I don't
just make a new fucking 6 new model lines every month. Make a new. I don't know. I think like the personality of the game gets hindered when you remove iconic shit like box dreads, or you remove like characters that have been around for years. Like I'm not even that attached to Zadrak or Badrak or whatever, but like I think Yorick going, like Yorick. I always get mixed up because of Yorick from League of Legends.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think removing him when he's so fucking iconically like part of the guard. He's Ghazghkull Thracker's foil for fuck's sake, and he's gone.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's just weird. It's frustrating as someone who like. It's like again. I watched that 52 miniatures video yesterday. Great video. He was like, I've not, even though half his army's been removed, the time he spent.
Which army was he playing?
Stormcast.
Right.
So like he was like, the time he spent playing, painting that army is like hours that is not really lost because he's enjoyed the time he did it and he's learned a lot from the painting.
That's the point I made earlier. Modelling is still part of the hobby.
Yeah. But ultimately, when a lot of your time is spent to paint a model to put it on the table, it's frustrating. It's just frustrating to be like, oh, actually, I'm gonna have to proxy something. I'm gonna have to make sure I can do that, or even there's not like an equivalent.
Well, there's no clear proxies, then the unit like loses that utility.
Yeah, like Captain Badrock, you can't just use him as a war boss. He just has a gun. He doesn't have anything else. You know what I mean?
I think he had a little saw blade on his arm.
Yeah, like
I think that's actually he's probably an example where you just play him as a war boss. Meanwhile, Jetpack Man would be a war boss with a jetpack that doesn't
which you
move
don't
more than
have.
6.
Yeah.
That's a. I guess we'll close out on this. This is real old men yelling at clouds now, and maybe you can pull me back from the edge of this this cliff as I start screaming that Warhammer's been infiltrated by the woke.
Yeah.
But I dislike removing all of the fucking options. Like when they got rid of like the Chaos Space Marine law with a fucking jetpack. Only then now they've reintroduced him again. Like that's a fucking wild thing. Like no bike captains right now, and we probably won't get that. He's probably in the pipeline, but we won't have him for years. Like why? I get the bloat reduction, but at the same time, 40k is so bloated anyway. I don't know if this bloat reduction really even scrapes the surface. If that makes sense. Is removing like 15 fucking sheets going to really help the fact that the game has like approaching 500? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think. I think ultimately, I don't think it affects. I don't think it's for the game balance or the game health at all. I don't think. I think it's
it's probably model line stuff.
It's probably it's look, capitalism once again. All right, they can't be bothered to keep making old Finecast stuff because it doesn't have it takes a lot to make and it probably doesn't have great markup.
I wonder, like, I think I'd prefer if they just sacked it off. Like, we're not going to make these models anymore.
Yeah.
They don't recommend we use third parties, of course. Big shout out. I'm loving Station Forge right now. I just ordered 10 Mech Boys from Station Forge. Would you allow me to play Station Forge Mech Boys at your event?
If they've got the right weapons, yeah.
They probably won't, if I'm honest.
You always think I'm really horrible with, like...
Honestly, every knob in my army has a power claw, but some of them look like they got saws. Would that upset you?
Yeah.
I don't have a single saw in the army.
That's not...
I haven't got not a single saw in the army. Everyone is a claw.
And they take saws?
Yes.
So they have to be used as saws. Because if I look at it, look, Vince, I'm not doing this on a podcast, but if I look across the table,
that's a whole episode I want to do.
Saws, they have to be used as saws.
If I say to you, there's not a single saw in my list, everyone has a claw.
When I'm thinking, I'm not going to be asking you every time. That's so crazy.
No, because it's a definitive statement. If I start mixing and matching them, that's more confusing.
If I forget, if I'm just looking at a glance and I see a melter gun and I'm like, oh god, a melter gun better not move my tank there.
That's a bit different between a saw and a claw. That's a bit different between a saw and a claw for a start.
It's the same.
It is not the same. If your army is... If I tell you my entire army has the same weapon loadout and you're like, well, one of them's got a saw.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, but you might think it's ridiculous, but it's the end of the podcast, I think.
Yeah, but next time you're on, we're going to talk about this.
Okay.
WYSIWYG's Broxying counts as...
That's coming next. Winter's coming. Proxies are coming, everyone.
We can talk to the audience about I would hold up my actual Gorkanaut and my ATSD. Because it actually illustrates how different... Those look very different, to be fair. Yeah. Anyway. I think they should stop fucking squatting everything. Who cares? There's so much shit in the game. What good comes of it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's just annoying. As a consumer, it's annoying.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you for watching, listening, hanging out, getting involved. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. If you're listening to it on Spotify or anywhere, please let me know. Even if you just tweet at me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Mikey, for coming on. Do you want to plug your pluggables?
My pluggables.
Where else can people tell you?
Find me.
I can hear you saying that everything's got to be WYSIWYG. You fucking, you fucking
so awful. Anyway, find me at Hellstorm Wargamer on YouTube, Hellstorm Mikey on Twitter. I tweet hot takes all the time. It's 1000% soy, and I have
guaranteed. Minimum. Sometimes the edge is over.
And it's even worse on YouTube. I stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I put videos out regularly. There you go.
All right, that's it. That's the end of the pod. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Bye.